Hi, everybody. Angel here. I want to say thanks for joining. And I'm happy that we'll be speaking today with Hayden and Aaron of Vegan Voyagers. So it's going to be a great conversation today. Hope you guys are doing great. Hi there. How are you?
Hi.
Hello.
How are you both doing?
We're doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Thanks for
I
having
just
us.
Thank you for joining. I know everybody's busy, and so I appreciate it. And I did pop our topics, just kind of a summary of them down below, because just to kind of keep me on track there. And I will be playing with filters, so if you see lots of sparklies, that's why. So as folks join, I'll pause and say hi and ask them to put their questions and comments down below. And meanwhile, while we wait for people to join, I will just get us started. And again, thanks so much to both of you, Hayden and Aaron, for taking the time. And it would be great if you could kick us off, please, with your vegan journey, how you started and how you ended up to where you are today.
So we have somewhat similar stories. I originally just stopped eating specific kinds of meats, and it just kind of snowballed into becoming vegan. Um, it was when I had to start cooking for myself. I realized I didn't want to be handling raw food meat anymore. So I was like, this is gross. I'm just going to cut it all out. And then I went from basically a pescatarian to full vegan. And that's when I started working for PETA. I was
Wow.
a campaigner for PETA for 2 years. I basically spent 2 years standing on the street corner in a lettuce bikini, telling
Wow.
people to go vegan. Um,
Wow.
and then I got a job at Sea Shepherd Conservation Society, which is where Aaron and I actually met.
Oh, wow. Cool. Well, before we go to Aaron, I just want to say that Hayden, you and I have something in common because I was vegetarian pescatarian for like 20 years before I switched to vegan. So we have that definitely in common.
Yeah, I think it just made the transition really easy. It wasn't like a full on meat and potatoes and cheese diet. I kind of slowly progressed into it, and it wasn't. It was easy.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry about that, Aaron. So let's hear from you, please.
So I grew up in the Midwest, and I grew up in a very meat and potatoes kind of environment, kind of family. A lot of burgers, a lot of steaks, pork chops, and I think I turned 30, and I started getting involved in more animal rights campaigns and organizations, and it just became more aware of it. And so I remember sitting there and saying, I think I'm going to go vegetarian. And I'm pretty sure everybody in the room just was beyond belief because that's a thing you wouldn't hear coming out of my mouth. I was the meat eater king. And so I did very similar to Hayden. I started cutting out meat by meat. I think I cut out pork first and then beef and worked my way down and got to vegetarian in just under 6 months. And then slowly started cutting out things like dairy and eggs. And I was just down to eating, there was one particular pizza that had fresh mozzarella on it. And that was the only thing that I was eating. And I ended up going to Japan to protest against the dolphin slaughter that occurs out there. And that was when it all clicked for me. I saw from the wild animals coming in, being selected for captivity, and then going to slaughter, and then seeing them in the market later that day. The same animals that I saw roaming free earlier that morning. And that was it. I was like, I cannot be a part of this anymore. And I went vegan that day, and that was just over 7 years ago.
Well, bravo and brava to both of you. I am like blown away by these stories. It's true. Wow, you definitely have unique stories. And I mean, both of you have like been, I would say, on the front lines as well, which is a privilege, but it's also probably super hard, to
Yeah,
see it up front.
it also definitely solidifies why we are vegan, and you know, those sound bites are ingrained in our
Yeah.
minds forever. So there's never been any kind of like wavering from us, because we did do all of that up front on the front lines work, and you know, he saw firsthand the dolphin slaughter. So there's never been any. I've been vegan now 10 years, going
Oh
on 11
my.
years. So it's like
Wow.
there's no reason not to be vegan. Like, we eat amazing food all over the world, and you know, that's what we're
I
just trying to
agree.
tell people, is that the food is amazing. Why are you still eating dead animals?
Totally. And I'm switching to the
Yeah,
underwater
that's a good
theme.
one.
Okay. As we I was gonna start off with this, but I thought no, Angel, ease into it, okay? Uh now I do want to say hi to everyone who's joining. Thanks so much for joining. Please put your questions and comments down below for Hayden and Aaron, and they'll be happy to answer. And meanwhile, let's go to Vegan Voyagers. When and why did you start Vegan Voyagers, please?
So almost exactly 4 years ago now, we sold most of our belongings and moved into an RV, and we spent 3 years traveling around the U.S. in an RV, and we needed a name. We needed an Instagram handle and like a persona, if you will. So we decided that we like the alliteration, Vegan Voyagers. It was catchy, and we had been searching through the U.S. for like the best vegan food we could find in the states. So it just it stuck for us, and we're still traveling. We now, last year in January, sold everything we own to travel. The goal is now to visit every country in the world. So we're currently in Costa Rica. We're sitting here. Here, I can show
You're in
you.
Costa Rica!
Yeah, this
Oh
is our view. There's
my goodness!
usually monkeys in
Oh,
the trees here.
oh my heavens! I
Yeah.
oh, I thought you guys were still in Bonaire. I can't even keep up with
Oh no.
you.
Yeah, our content is usually a couple of weeks behind. So it helps me to be able to edit all of that, but we're not always current. So if you follow us on our Instagram stories, you'll see our like current day-to-day lives. So we have a lot of like monkey content and stuff up there. We just went whitewater rafting the other day, so
Oh.
we're having a blast.
Oh my gosh, I'm getting a chill. I spent about a month in Costa Rica in total, different parts, but mainly on the Pacific coast, and it was just awesome. But I'm not gonna steal your thunder.
No,
We're
that's
talking about
okay.
you. We're not talking about
We could
me.
talk all
Okay.
day about Costa Rica.
It's just incredible, honestly. So, you started Vegan Voyagers because, like you said, it's your goal to, show the world basically that we can eat vegan and thrive in every country. So let's go to a little bit of your vegan travel tips that you have so far for people who, obviously a lot of us are not traveling very much right now, but what are a few of your top tips for vegans who are traveling?
Well, hands down, the number one resource we use is Happy Cow. The app, definitely pay the couple of dollars to get the full access to it, but it is our number one resource. So no matter where we are in the world, it shows you where you have vegan food. It'll locate you in real time, and it's honestly an incredible resource. There's also a second app that's a little bit new. It's called A Billion Veg, and they give back based on your reviews. So if you put 10 reviews in from restaurants, they'll donate $10 to um, any number of charities that they have listed in their app. So we really like to use them too. It's really easy. All you have to do is add a review of food. So it's based by food, and if you go to a restaurant, you eat 3 different things like we usually do.
Yeah, of
And you
course.
can add 3 different reviews, and that's $3 that would go to an animal organization or a sanctuary. So it's a really great resource that we like to just give back to. It's easy. It doesn't cost you anything, just a little bit of time to input that. So um, I'd say definitely those are our our main resources, and they're amazing. Like, I don't usually have to venture very far from either of them to find what we're looking for. So
We have found a couple of hidden gems through Facebook groups, which has been
that's true.
nice. We'll join like a Facebook group for the location that we're going to be in, and that's how we actually met some of the Aruba vegans, the people that were involved in the vegan scene out there, and they were able to really help us just identify local cuisine that's been veganized, areas to go. So it's another great resource.
Yeah, and a lot of them actually work kind of through delivery, so they're not
Mhm.
on Happy Cow. So we were able to connect a lot with some of the locals who are just making food and selling them out of their house. So like right now, a lot of things are delivery, and it was just a really great resource. So yeah, like Aaron said, Facebook groups.
Yeah, that's a good one. I have to admit that I haven't used Facebook to find places, but I have used Instagram. So
Yeah,
when I was traveling before this whole global situation, I was using hashtags on
yeah,
Instagram. So if I were going, let's say to Prague, I would put in hashtag vegan Prague or hashtag Prague vegan or something like that. And then I would find like local restaurants and cafes that had vegan options or that were all vegan. So that's a cool, I like your Facebook option because, it just kind of opens up the possibilities.
yeah, and it's straight from the locals too. So there might be things on there that you never would have found that if they didn't put it on Instagram or something like that. So, for example, and we were just in Curacao in the ABC Islands, so Aruba, Curacao, and Bonaire, and in Curacao there's like a Curacao vegans group, and their very first like pin post is like, here are the 20 restaurants where you can find vegan options. And Curacao isn't all that vegan friendly, so it was just a really great resource. And again, some of them were just delivery only, like you call via WhatsApp and they drop off food to you. So far that's been a really good way to go about it.
No, and I love that because not only are you connecting with the locals, but you're supporting the
Right.
locals.
Yeah.
It's not like you're going to like a global fast food place that,
Right.
a lot of the profits are going to leave the country and leave the community. So I think that is awesome. I just want to pause and say hi and thanks to everyone who's joining. And please put your questions and comments down below for Hayden and Aaron, and they'll be happy to answer. We have Made by a Vegan. Love it. Thank you. Here we go. So while we wait for questions, let's go to your YouTube channel. I want to say that I cheated a little bit because I was watching some of your videos and I didn't watch Netflix last night. So sorry, Netflix.
Hey, we
I watched
appreciate any views you'll give us. So.
yeah, I watched Vegan Voyagers last night, and I was really blown away by your diving, footage and your experience and all of that. So tell us, please, a bit about your YouTube channel.
So we're Vegan Voyagers on YouTube. In fact, you can find us on all of our socials at Vegan Voyagers. And we started our YouTube channel, I'd say, well, it was 4 years ago, and we did not know what we were doing. I did not want to be in front of the camera. Like, we did not want to be making videos, but we were doing it because we felt like we should be doing it. And it was just like we were doing such cool stuff and experiencing really neat things in the US while we were traveling. And so it really took us a long time to kind of find our groove, if you will. But now that we've left the country, I think we're both a lot more motivated to be making better content. So I think we're both like a lot more into it now.
Yeah,
So
and
our old stuff is really hard to watch. Don't do it.
when we were in the RV, we were doing a lot of hiking, and because we were going to the national parks, and when when we were first starting, we didn't really know how to tell a story with that, and so it was just like, well, here's 10 minutes of hiking footage, which nobody wants to watch. And so while we started our channel 4 years ago, I feel like we really only started about a year ago or so. Once we left the country, we can see at least a huge difference in our demeanor, and just we're really happy, really excited, and really enthused by what we're doing, and we're starting to just really bring some of those things to the people that watch us, and I think that's made a big difference.
And with our
Yeah.
diving, the diving situation is completely new for us. We just, in August, became certified divers, and it completely changed our lives. We now own and travel with all of our own scuba gear, which was it's just like we took a whole 180. So we're just really glad because, you know, now we're able to explore the other 70% of the world that most people don't get to explore, and that's the ocean. So most people are telling us, well, I'm too scared to scuba dive, or I would never do that. So we're glad that we can watch it through you, or like going into wrecks, shipwrecks and plane wrecks and stuff like that. So it's just been a whole new fun experience for us, and we're still trying to figure out the best way to tell a story underwater when you can't talk or do anything like that. So it's just been fun. We very much enjoy it, and we're just excited to keep trying to make it content people want to watch, basically.
Well, I was engrossed, I have to tell you, and I'm not just saying this because you're here. I'm saying this because I am one of those people who is a little bit afraid of diving. I am so worried that I'm gonna like fall into a blue hole, or because that did, by the way, happen to me and my no, it did happen to me and my sisters when we were young. So a long story short, we had to get basically plucked out of the blue hole. But that's another story. So my point is that I do have a bit of a fear, to be honest with you, with like deep water. Like if I cannot touch the bottom with my feet, I'm like, okay, it's time to swim back to shore. It's true. I am really, really a wimp when it comes to that. And so watching your videos last night, I was like, gosh, like they're making me want to get down there and see all these colorful fish, and and I was like just fascinated by all the colors, and a few fish I had never even seen before, or they weren't even fish. Well, I guess they were fish, but like this green one that had this like wavy shape.
Eel.
Oh
They're
my
eels.
gosh.
Yeah.
They're eels. And I was like, oh my gosh, the color, the shape. What is that? Who
Yeah.
are you? And one that looked like an underwater snake or something that
Yeah.
had like different, dark and light colors. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to get down there, but I'm still kind of scared. But it's like you're motivating me, you're inspiring me to want to, do more than dip my toe in there, I guess.
Well, that's great. And that's honestly one of the main goals that we want to do, just in a general sense, is just inspire people to get out there, to travel more, to get outside of your bubble, to try new things, and get underwater. So we've already actually inspired quite a few people who have told us, like, one of new friends of ours, they went scuba diving because we convinced them to, and so I think now they love it. And so it's just, if we can inspire other people to just do awesome things in their life, then that's what we're here for.
Totally. I just want to say hi to everyone who's joining, and please put your questions and comments down below for Hayden and Aaron, and also let us know where you are tuning in from around the world. That would be cool to see where you're from or where you're tuning in from. So while we wait for more comments and questions, let's go please to vegan friendly cities or countries that you've encountered so far. What are a few, I guess, of your, most vegan friendly places you've visited so far?
Hands down, Mexico City. The the level of vegan options and pure 100% vegan restaurants down there is absolutely mind blowing. And I remember when we were planning this, Hayden does a lot of the planning, and she's pulling up and referencing where we're going to stay versus where the vegan food is.
On Happy Cow.
On Happy Cow.
You look at that map and you know where you're going.
And she pulls it up and she shows it to me, and it's a sea of green, meaning pure vegan options. And I think we, at least 90% of the restaurants we went to, we left there saying that was the best whatever we were eating we've ever had in our lives.
Yeah.
And just the different types of cuisine. Like, I love Mexican cuisine, growing up with Mexican family members, it's part of my heritage. And just being able to try something that is so culturally relevant to my past and my upbringing, and still being able to eat those flavors and the different types of food, it's really just an incredible experience. And that's probably what excites me most about going to all these different places, is experiencing the local cuisine and the local flavors. But Mexico City.
Yeah.
That's the number one place I would recommend.
And like they even had a vegan like al pastor. So you see you like they roast the meat on a spit like on the street corner. They
Oh.
have a vegan version of that and they're shaving it off and throwing it on a grill. So it's like you really are getting the local experience too. So there's no you're not missing out in any way. And that's really also what we want to show people is that like you can still have these cultural experiences. You can still visit these places and because food really is such a big part of culture and about and of a, like a country's draw for people because that's people like to eat and you associate food with memories and everything like that. So again, that's just what we want to do is just show people like you can travel as vegans and still be completely satisfied, a because the food is amazing, but also like you're getting that local traditional experience, and so it's awesome.
Probably the one that surprised us the most, though, was Aruba.
Yeah.
Like, we did not expect that many vegan options to be available. You know, usually when you're looking into a Caribbean island, it's very heavily fish based cuisine,
Yes.
and
Yes.
so to just have as many options as there were, it was really rather surprising, and we got to eat some incredible, not only just veganized versions of things, but veganized versions of staples and Aruban identity. Like we got
Yeah.
to try ayacas around Christmas time, which are only available around Christmas time, and it was like unwrapping a little Christmas present of flavor. It was one of the
Uh,
coolest experiences we've ever had.
And Aruba, in specifically, they've been putting a lot of time and energy into making the island a lot more vegan friendly, and so you can really see it, especially compared to Curacao and Bonaire, um, that they're just putting again. They want to show restaurants and companies like if you provide it, like vegans will come. So um, just yeah, we were and also really elevated food. So it was just like everything was delicious and elevated
Yeah,
and
one of the
really good.
one of the best risottos I've ever had in my life came
Yeah.
from Aruba. I'll
Amazing.
plug you like that. If you can find a way to ship that to me, I will eat it day in day out.
Repeat. What was the dish that you said?
It was a risotto.
Oh, risotto. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm a rice fan. I just grew up with so much rice. I mean, I don't eat it as much now, but the other day at a plant-based restaurant, I had like a rice. I don't know, was it called a poblano or something? And it was like in a peppery thing with
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
with rice
Yeah.
and spices and everything. And they do a bit of kind of like a Mexican theme in a part on a part of their menu. And like you were saying, the flavors and I will say that the Mexico City recommendation that you just gave is nice to hear because it's such a huge city, number one, and number two, obviously the Mexican cuisine is super popular with loads of spices and flavors and herbs, so and loads of fresh plant foods,
And
so that's
traditional
cool.
Mexican cuisine is vegan as it is. A lot of corn and rice and beans. So meat didn't come into play in there. It was more of like a specialty or like a treat every once in a while kind of a thing because it was a lot more expensive, back in the day. But we also were planning on doing a vegan food tour group trip to Mexico City. That was supposed to be happening this April. And we actually, like, right before we spent a lot of money booking a big Airbnb for, 10 people, COVID hit. So
Yeah.
we're glad we didn't
Thankfully, the
lose that
timing,
money.
at least, yeah, the
Yeah.
timing, at least, was in your favor for at least in terms of the investment.
Yeah. So, but we are hoping to still be able to do that because there's so many also just like really fun cultural activities like lucha libre and mezcal and tequila tastings and just all of the other elements of
And the
Mexico that
art,
we
right?
felt
The art and
exactly.
culture.
This
And
I mean,
museums like the Frida Kahlo Museum, and
oh,
then nearby is Teotihuacan, which is what an ancient city.
and the
And
pyramids.
exactly. So we want to bring people to these places that we love so much, and we spent a whole month in Mexico City, so we were ready to share it with people. And, maybe we will again next year when things calm down and tourists get up and running again. But that's kind of one of our future goals, is to run group trips with people so we can take care of all of the details, and all you have to do is show up and eat and drink and be merry.
I love that. Oh my gosh, you're combining three of my favorite passions: travel, food, and art.
Yeah, exactly.
If you throw in yoga, sign me up.
Okay, good mental note. Morning yoga session.
Sign me up. I want to say hi to everybody who's joining. Thanks so much for being here. And please pop your questions and comments down below for Hayden and Aaron. And I'm just scanning to make sure I didn't miss any comments. So here we go. While we wait for folks to chat away with us, let's go to our next topic, which is your vegan destination guide. So it's kind of connected to what you were just talking about, actually, about your future vegan trips. So tell us a bit, please, about your vegan travel guides that you have created.
It's basically just, we make a YouTube video, a vegan food tour from every city or destination that we visit. So we like to just compile all the food that we eat and put it into one video, which we don't recommend watching if you're hungry. But we also write them on our website, on our blog. So we have on veganvoyagers.com, you can find our vegan guides, and it will show you, for example, in Mexico City, the names of the restaurants and what we recommend eating there. So it's just easy content for people to find if they're heading off to any location we've been to.
Yeah, that's definitely something we wanted to be doing more of. We've kind of focused a little bit more on the YouTube side of things lately, but reading the blog is a very way for people to consume content, identify, okay, these are the restaurants that they're recommending out of hundreds of thousands of restaurants, and the pictures are right there and descriptions, and so it's definitely a resource we want to get back up to date, because there's a lot of content.
We're just a little behind.
Well, you're exploring the world. You're collecting data.
Right.
You're
a science experiment.
There we go. You're collecting data, cruelty free, and then you'll kind of curate it and put it all together. But I do agree with you. I think the videos are awesome. One of my friends says things like, video is king. I agree with you on that, but I also agree with you on the written form, the blog form, because then a person can whip this out, once they arrive, or even on the airplane or whatever, they're in the taxi or whatever, to and from their destination, and they can be like, hey, now I'm here. Okay, let me refresh my memory on where they said
Right.
were cool places to go or whatever. So I do think that the written form has a role, has a lot of power. It's kind of like a shopping list. When you're going shopping, you're not gonna be like, hey, let me watch this video. You're like, no,
Right.
I need a written list of what they were talking about.
Exactly.
Plus, we like to link directly to the restaurant in terms of where it is, so you can just click the link, pulls up on your phone, Google Maps, hit go, and you're on your way to the restaurant.
Now that's very user friendly. Okay, sign me up for that too. That's very user friendly. Okay. I want to say hi to everybody who's joining. Thanks so much for joining. Please let us know where you're joining from around the world, and also put your questions and comments down below for Hayden and Aaron, and they'll be happy to answer. And meanwhile, let's go to our next topic, please, which is naysayers and critics of our vegan diet and lifestyle. Okay. How do you handle those situations?
Much differently than we used to.
We have a decade of experience dealing with that.
I think it used to bother us a lot more. I think we used to take it a lot more personally. Just because it's such an interesting thing to be so mad at somebody over. Like we're just trying to show you these ways that you can still maintain a lifestyle, eating the foods that you want to eat and the clothes you want to wear. Just you can make subtle changes that don't involve animal cruelty and animal slaughter. So it's always been a weird thing that people hate over.
Like, I can't tell you how many times we've been called a terrorist. Like,
No.
yeah, it's
Oh
crazy.
my
But, and also,
gosh.
like, we're, you know, our entire travel goal is to eat food. And so we're showing people how much food we eat, but then they turn around and they tell us, well, you can't be vegan because you're fat or you're overweight.
Oh
We're like,
no.
but did you see that we just ate mac and cheese and hamburgers and brats for 3 days straight? Like, did you miss that? So it's just, you know, people just get mad and you have to laugh it off. And
Yeah.
a lot of times we just kind of try to jab back at them in a funny way. Like, they'll say things on our YouTube comments, and instead of just deleting them, we're like, oh, well, subscribe and find out if we lose the weight, you know, or whatever it is. So
No, I love that you put a positive twist on it that is actually benefiting veganism, the animals, and yourselves, you know?
yeah.
'Cause you're
Well, and
like,
we don't want to turn people off any more than they already are. So, you know, we're just doing our thing, and if people are angry about it, that's says more about them than it does about us. So we'll just continue to go about our business. And
We're past our vegan militant phase.
yeah,
Now it's
true.
more like, how can we bring this message to people that they will listen, as opposed
Yeah.
to just standing toe to toe across the line from each other.
And I think that does say something about, like, maybe where you are in your vegan journey, because I used to have a lot of anger. You know, you learn about what happens to animals and everything, and, like, how could you not be angry? But after so long, you just kind of have to approach things differently. Like, if you're angry, people are defensive, and so if we're just out here being happy and living our lives and it's not an issue, then maybe people will be more receptive to that. But also, people need to hear things 7 times before they actually can understand the message. So, like, I think every like delivery plays a part in it. So, like, the angry vegan standing on the street corner, which I used to be, might resonate with somebody, but then if they see, like, a cube of truth and they, like, watch footage, then maybe that resonates with them. But maybe it's just the random person like us you find in a restaurant and you get to chatting with, and they're like, oh, they were totally normal and not crazy people. So I just think everything has a role in the movement, and we're all in different mindsets of what is effective, because nothing is not effective. It's just you have to find what works for you, because a lot of people get burnt out, and then they'll be like, well, I'm not vegan anymore. I mean, I don't know what people are nuts, but
yeah.
staying positive, I guess that's the long story short.
No, but what I like too, it's like you're planting seeds,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
yeah, you're saying basically, the way I see your approach is, okay, well, you dropped a little, truth bomb, or a little example, or a little hint, on, for example, what you ate, or even, like, the you know uh animal suffering, the liberation, like the video you recorded, where they were talking about, all of the plastic in the ocean, and how that's killing so many aquatic animals. I was like, oh my gosh, I had no idea the number was that high, and things like
Yeah.
that. So you're bringing awareness from different angles, not only from the foodie health perspective, but also from, the animal liberation, the animal protection perspective, and eventually, quite honestly, the environmental and the planet perspective. And so I think that that's really cool. And then, like you say, you drop it. If they're going to be confrontational, you drop it. And when they're ready, they'll come back. So it's like you're building it and they will come. And
Right.
I know you gave that kind of similar scenario in one of the ABCs. Now, I think in Aruba, I think you were saying, and how they were like, hey, they've realized that if they add vegan options, or they create all vegan restaurant concepts, people will show up. People are going to come.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just becoming a lot more popular. I mean, in the 10 years I've been vegan, we've come leagues, like light years, from where we started only just 10 years ago. I could only imagine what, 20, 30, you know, some people who've been vegan their entire lives, like, you know, there there wasn't vegan cheese and burgers and brats, and we didn't have burgers in fast food restaurants and stuff like that. So it's just, the whole point is that it's becoming a lot more accessible, and companies are starting to catch on and realizing that this is the future and that we need to start changing our method, because, you know, unfortunately we do live in a capitalist society, and we are still forced to operate in that system. And so if a major company is going to make a vegan product and people will buy that vegan product instead of the non-vegan product, then that's a win for the animals. And it's not going to be a perfect utopian way of going about it. And that's where I think a lot of vegans get hung up. Is they're like, well, this one thing happened in that transaction that now we can't support it at all. And it's like, but look at how much it's done to help animals, like, since then. So I think it's just, we need to keep trekking forward and like convincing these companies that there is a business. Sorry, there's like a monkey in the tree.
Hi,
That there is
monkey.
a need for it. And you know, just the, again, like we've been saying, like, if they build it, we will come. So, and more people are going vegan every year and every day. And so if it's accessible, then people will buy it. But it is, and it has been a little bit more of an inaccessible thing for a lot of people. Like, people live in a lot of food deserts in the United States, and they're reliant upon small grocery stores or fast food restaurants. So, you know, they don't all live in Los Angeles, like where I grew up, and, you know, where there's vegan restaurants on every corner. So we just have to be a little bit more mindful of like what the bigger picture is and how these major changes are really helping animals, and whether or not it's like in this perfect way that we want it to go down.
Yeah, and I think what you're getting at too is like, you know, it's not very helpful for us to have an all or nothing approach.
Right, exactly.
I myself was guilty of that up until a year and a half ago. And I was in Dublin, shout out to Dublin, and I was at a veg fest, and I was with a friend I had met there, and there was a speaker, and she was basically saying, you know, it's great to have, you know, a small number of perfect vegans. However, it would make a much bigger impact if we had more people eating plants and eating fewer animals. So, you
Absolutely.
know, when she said that, I was like, oh my gosh, I had never thought of it like that. You know, here it is. I'm like, yes, it's all or nothing. Yes, everybody has to go vegan now, now, now. It's urgent
Yeah.
now. And, you know, it was just awesome when she, you know, put out that different perspective. And so, you know, my thing is, you know, we can get people eating more plants and fewer animals and really understand little by little, like you're saying, planting seeds. You know, I like to talk about it from a lifestyle perspective. So it's not just your food, it's your clothing, your skincare, your furnishings, your beauty care, et cetera, you know, and we can really, you know, remove the demand for animals in so many aspects of our lives, not just our meals and our drinks, you know. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that's super important, like you're saying, you know, to like not be so, I don't know, like, you know, again, like tunnel vision. And I know it's urgent. I know it's urgent, but I guess, you know, a lot of people just, they become offended and they want to protect their lifestyle that they've known from birth, you know. A
Yeah.
lot of people from birth have been consuming animals because they were not, you know, given, you know, natural human milk. They were given animal milk. That's just, you know, one example. And so it's just really hard, you know, as humans, we don't like change. We're, you know, creatures of habit, et cetera, et cetera. So I applaud you for, you know, coming to that realization.
Yeah.
I love the quote, "Don't let perfection be the enemy of progress." And you can make more change by doing one thing than by doing nothing.
And we're not saying
That's
that
a
that
good one.
means you're a vegan just because you only eat meat 3 days a week instead of four or seven. It just means like every little bit helps, and every change that people can make in their own personal life is making a difference. And that's why campaigns like Meatless Monday are so powerful, because people can say, I can get on board with 1 day a week. And we're not saying, yes, now you're a vegan all of a sudden. That's certainly not the case. But again, it's like we need a lot of imperfect vegans, not a, a few militant vegans. And so the rest of it will come. So like as you start to make these changes in your diet, you start to cut out meat and you realize, oh, it's really not that hard. Then all of a sudden now you realize, oh, maybe I should try this shampoo instead of the one I've been using. And it all kind of snowballs together. And so it doesn't have to be everything all at once. And I think that that deters people from even trying, because they're like, well, I could never live like this, or like I could never give up cheese. And it's like, we'll do everything else but give up cheese, and then maybe one day you will. So just the way everybody goes about it and the way people retain information and is different. So again, if you're this militant vegan and you're standing on the street corner and you're angry and yelling, I think that definitely serves a place in the movement, because it does, and people see that and they see the extreme of it. But then maybe on the other side they're seeing a not so extreme version of it and they're saying, oh, maybe it's not so bad. Yeah. So
Yeah, it's kind of like, and I know as vegans we don't consume honey, but it's kind of like you can attract more flies with honey than with vinegar,
right.
as the saying goes, something along those lines. And so, and to your point, like like the big brand, shout out to Oatly. I know there's some controversy
Love
where
Oatly though. It's like the best. It's the best one on the market. So it's like if you make good products, like then let's talk about what the issues are.
right. And so like, plant milks, oat milks are really catching on even with non-vegans.
Yeah.
There's also like the largest coffee shop chain that starts with S and has a mermaid, but I'm not going to say the name. And, they have just announced, plant-based is like the biggest marketing revolution in X amount of time. I don't know if it's ever in history or something, but it's humongous, right?
Yeah.
And so they have also added plant-based options to their menu. I personally eaten some of them because again I'm a foodie, and so I have tried some of them. And so I mean, just to just to kind of back up what you're saying, I mean, and another thing too, I saw a new label now. Instead of flexitarian, there's also reducitarian. So
Right.
people are doing what you're saying, reducing their consumption of animals. Let's say instead of 7 days a week, maybe 3 or 4 days a week. And then the other days they are, focusing on eating plants, or maybe even, breakfast. Instead of eating some animals, they will just, they will have 100% plants for the one meal a day, breakfast or whatever. So I really think, yes, this is the way to go. And then a last point before I move on to the next topic, though, is that, a lot of people will start to feel better, like your energy levels get higher. The inflammation goes away if you ever were suffering from that, indigestion, some other ailments that some people suffer from. A lot of us, when we ditch the standard diet and switch to a vegan diet, we just feel so much better.
Yeah. And I just want to clarify, of course, the entire goal is total animal liberation. Like 100%, we're not saying like, oh, being a reducitarian is enough, because it's not. But we're just saying that people are at different stages, and that encouraging them through those stages is more beneficial than just being like, well, you're not doing enough. So like all the people that people hate on vegans hate on vegetarians. And it's like, you're not doing enough. And it's like, they're doing a lot more than most people. So let's just consider, because it's more about their identity as this vegan and not about the animal. So I just wanted to really drive that point home, that it is about total animal liberation.
No, I agree. I agree. And I personally, I will admit this, that I personally have to, monitor myself when it comes even to vegetarians, because I was a vegetarian / pescatarian for 20 years before I switched to vegan, like I said earlier. And I have to, you know, temper my enthusiasm, shall we say, because sometimes I think, well, gosh, you're almost there. You're so
Right.
close, you know, gosh, you know, there's so many plant options for milk and cheese and, you know, butter and, you know, eggs. Like, come on, let's do it. Let's do it. You know, let's just get rid of
Yeah.
all that, you know, we're almost there.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I have to like really rein myself in. I have to be honest with you. And I've even made a video about this, you know, basically pleading for vegetarians to please go vegan, you know, and I'm like,
But you're right. There's really no reason why they shouldn't. They're almost there, and then the products on the market now are so easy to replace. So like, it is a no-brainer. But just
you know,
in the bigger scheme of things, they're not the problem.
no, and I applaud you vegetarians, and I think what happens, at least for me, I was living in a bubble, and I had no idea about the cruelty that was involved in the dairy industry and the egg industry. I
Yeah.
really was like almost living under a rock, pretty much, like
Yeah.
not to have known this. And so I take full responsibility for that, that I didn't kind of, you know, I just wasn't like more open and aware of things. But yeah, I definitely want to say again, we're all on our journey. And as you were saying earlier, you know, the way I would see it, we have to meet people where they are. So if they are at the point where they're willing to be open, as one of my, you know, friends called it, fluid, you know, fluid enough and open enough to consider giving up, you know, what we call bacon, for example, which are pigs. And we can say, okay, well, if they're willing to give up the, you know, their breakfast, right, their traditional bacon and eggs, right, and switch to plant options, well, this is great. This is going to really reduce the demand for animals in the general marketplace and increase the demand for plants. And this is, you know, we need to shift the balance here, you know, and yeah, like just flip it on its head, you know. And so I definitely agree with you, and I'm glad that you know, you kind of pounded on that point, because I think it is important.
We're good at pounding on points.
We all used to not be vegan one day,
Yeah.
so we have to remember where we came from. And some of the arguments we used early on definitely wouldn't have converted me, and some of the arguments we use now wouldn't have converted me. But it's all about finding the right way to talk to somebody, and sometimes it's not talking to them. Sometimes it's just providing the options and walking away and letting them come to the conclusion themselves.
And I
Or
would
trying
add
to
to
try the food, eat the products. Like, and for us, that's probably one of our biggest ways that we get people to go vegan is, have you tried this? Because what you don't need X, Y, and Z, because try these products and it's the same thing. And a lot of people do come back and say, you're right, I will buy that, and now I don't need to eat those things. So I think that's one of the biggest driving factors for making new vegans is the products on the market. So it's all about food. Like, that's what it is. It's about eating. So if you're trying to convince somebody that tofu is an egg, it's not. And we all know that. So, you know, we've come a long way in terms of like what we can convince people. You know, like tofu is not a steak, but like we eat tofu. I freaking love tofu. But, you know, now there's actual vegan steaks on the market, like from Herbivorous Butcher, which we absolutely are obsessed with. They're amazing. And it's like,
they got
try
an award the
try
other day. I think they got an award the other day.
well, they won their case against Nestle for the
That's
vegan
it.
butcher term. Yeah, the phrase. So it's huge for vegans in a general sense. Like, nobody can own the term vegan butcher, and that was the lawsuit with Nestle. So
Thank you for correcting me, because I was just super excited that they won
like
something
something
or
good
the other.
happened.
Yeah. I totally butchered that one. I totally messed that one up. No pun intended, or maybe.
Yeah, there you go.
I want to say hi to everybody who's joining. Please let us know where you're joining from, and also put your questions and comments down below, and Aaron and Hayden will be happy to answer. Yeah, so we keep going off here. So
Sorry.
no, this is me. So our next topic that you were basically segueing into, also, thank you, is newbies, vegan curious, vegan friendly people. what are some of your top tips for someone who shows up and says, you know what, I've been thinking about this vegan thing, this, going plant-based, eating more plants or whatever. What would be some of your top tips for folks like that?
Eat the food.
Start small. Find the dish that you truly love and see if you can veganize it, or find a dish that you've been dying to try that maybe is a little bit outside of your comfort zone, and try that. And just start experimenting and exploring. You're going to find things that do work. You're going to find things that don't work, especially when you're talking about certain combinations of mock meats and things like that. But just, there's a wealth of information out there, and you can even start, like I said, with something as simple as spaghetti. Replace the meatballs, and then boom, try one of the vegan meatballs in there and see if you like it. And if you don't, okay, well,
try a different vegan meatball.
Try a different vegan
because
meatball.
There's 20 options, and not everybody likes certain flavors that they might have in them. But
Those
honestly,
falafels you posted.
Sorry.
Those falafels you posted the other.
So good. So good. But, and also maybe just there's a lot of things that people might not realize are vegan. I think the word vegan turns people off in a general sense. They're like, well, I don't want to eat vegan food. It's like, but you're eating rice and beans, it's already vegan. Or you're eating potatoes, or you're eating whatever it is. I think it's just people are like, I could never go vegan. And it's like, but half the food you eat already is. So do you eat vegetables and fruit and greens? Like, you're halfway there. So, but again, I think just one of our ways that we like to convince people is to have them taste the food. Like, this is our favorite vegan cheese. If you try it, because if this can replace what you're used to, then why wouldn't you choose this option? Or like, we think this milk is the best, especially, oh, you drink coffee, you don't want it to curdle, try this one. Oh, there's a creamer option, like you want it sugary, try this. So there's an alternative for everything, and they're a lot more accessible today than they've ever been before, and there's just more and more and more options coming on the market. So it's going to be at the point where there is literally no excuse, because, and now a lot of vegan products are, the goal is to get them less expensive. So to have the meat product be less expensive than the actual animal product will be the next way to convince people, because it really is all about money and money and accessibility.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up too, because a friend who is transitioning to vegan, he calls himself a vegan in training. Shout out to you, Ted.
I like that.
Yes, and he is making like Herculean efforts here, okay? And he was commenting to me the other day. Sorry, Ted. He was commenting to me the other day that some of the vegan package, processed packaged foods are quite expensive. The thing is, though, and we didn't, it was just kind of a message and we didn't really get into this, but the thing that I would say to that is, the animal industry is subsidized. So
right.
the what we call meat and dairy and eggs, those are subsidized, by XYZ. I won't get into that. And that's why, we're not on a level playing field here.
Sure.
Right.
And so, yes, it may seem that some of the plant, options are, a little bit more expensive. But, a lot of people don't realize that there's so many subsidies out there.
And that's why it's really great that, for example, Cory Booker, who's the senator, he's a vegan senator, and he's now on the agriculture committee, which just that's really where change can be made. So, I mean, if we need more vegans in Congress and Senate and everything like that in our government, because that's who's making our food choices for us. And so if we can have somebody who's sitting there saying, no, we need to have more vegan options that are not more expensive, or like reduce subsidies for meat and dairy, then that's how this whole thing becomes even more mainstream.
It's so interesting you say that, because on election day, I made a video about how, my dream is that one day we will have, vegans in leadership positions and in power, to make those decisions that you just outlined, because You know, if not, you know, omnivores aren't going to stand up for us, you know, so, and
And
for the
there's also
animals,
this concept where like individuals can't make a difference and it
it's
has to
not
come
true.
from a corporate scale and all of that. And like, yes, of course, that would be easier. But also individuals, like I've seen it happen. I've convinced many people just on my own to go vegan or to try vegan. And, um, individuals do play a big part in this. Yeah, we're not going to maybe save the world all on our own without any kind of like government help or like wide scale support, but we can get there eventually. And so I think just in this last election, now having Cory Booker in such an important position is exactly how we continue to do that.
Yeah, and shout out to his lady too. She's vegan, so
Oh, nice.
there. Yeah, yeah, she's a famous actress. Hi there, she's vegan too.
And that is one thing too about celebrities, which it's kind of like a catch-22, but it's like, I don't care what you think about Kim Kardashian. If she's going to convince people, like, yeah, she wears fur, and I actually staged a flower throwing on her one time, and my friend got arrested, and I spent the night at the police precinct trying to pick her up. But like, she's convincing her millions of followers to try vegan. Like, that's a big deal, and you don't have to like these people, and you don't have to follow them or whatever, but their support, that's just how our culture works now. We're influenced, so we need celebrities to influence people to try vegan, whether or not
Totally.
you love them or whether or not she does awful things on the side. Like, she's still trying to tell people to go vegan, and that's something to celebrate. So
I'm with you on that. Honestly, like you said, I really don't care what she does in her personal life. You know, if she's helping, you know, a cruelty-free movement move forward, then kudos, you know, let's do
right.
it.
Yeah, like we need everybody on board. We don't need to be so selective and so exclusive. And I think the original OG vegans were so used to being this kind of like punk rock, like exclusive club where they're like, we're, you know, the best and the baddest and this, that, and the other, where it's like you're missing the point because it's about animals, it's not about you, and you need to like open it up to everybody, and not everybody's going to be on the same level or care about the same things that you do. So it's like somebody might not even care about animals, but they go vegan because it helped cure their diabetes. Like, I don't care why you do it. If you're concerned about the planet, like, eating vegan like is gonna help save the planet. So I, we're not all. It's not all about the animals, because there's a lot of different reasons why people will go vegan, and it ultimately helps the animals. So there's just this like cult mentality about it that I think is starting to change with it becoming so mainstream. And so it's like a catch-22. People are like, I want to be in this exclusive club, but then they're like, everybody needs to go vegan, and then they're mad when everybody starts going vegan. So it's like, which is it? Do you want to save the animals, or do you want to be in this exclusive club? So figure it out.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad you brought up that point. And I want to say, as Sadie 2128 says, "Love vegan voyagers!" Three
Hi,
exclamation
Sadie.
Hi,
points.
Sadie.
Thank you there, Sadie. Awesome. So while we wait for questions or comments from our audience here, let's go to your future plans and projects. Are there any future plans or projects, anything you want to share with us at this time?
Well, we just announced over on our Patreon page where we're heading to next after Costa Rica. So if anybody wants to consider throwing us a couple dollars here and there, Patreon gets some exclusive content like early access to our videos. They find out where we're traveling to before anybody else does, and we send out like monthly postcards and stuff like that. So we have some cool perks on there. Um, just gonna plug us a little bit, shameless plug.
No, 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 no. We have
um,
to do this. We have to do this. Yeah.
but in terms of, we did mention that we want to host vegan food tour like group trips in the future. That was supposed to be happening in April in Mexico City. So stay tuned for whatever we can come up with. Maybe next year. we'll have to just see how things play out. But otherwise, our goal is to find the best vegan food in every country around the world. So we're on a long-term plan. We like to spend at least a month in every place. Because Aaron works full-time, so we kind of only get out on the weekends, and it also helps us immerse ourselves into the culture a little bit more than just like coming into a country for a couple of days and saying you saw it and then getting out. So, we're on this long-term plan. We don't own. We've sold everything. Everything we own fits in a suitcase and a backpack each, and now a suitcase of scuba gear. But
I saw your scuba gear drying in your beautiful bathroom
yeah.
there. I was like, oh my gosh, that shower is so beautiful.
Yeah, sometimes now we're like, well, is the shower big enough to work with like our scuba situation? So it's kind of ridiculous, but we don't plan on settling down anywhere. We probably think this will take us like 10 to 15 years
Yes.
realistically. So we're in it for the long term. We're not going to just like settle down and buy a house somewhere and people will be like, what happened to the vegan voyagers? So it's like, you'll see us even if you don't want to for many more years to come.
Globe trotting. Yeah. No, and it's so awesome that you're continuing this while, a lot of us feel like the world is at a standstill, like the world is shut down, and you
Yes.
are demonstrating that it is possible to continue to travel safely and follow your passions and reduce the demand for animals and still thrive out there. And so I think it's awesome. I just want to applaud you guys,
Thank
truly,
you.
truly,
We
truly.
get a lot of criticism about traveling right now. So, it is a little bit of a touchy subject, but we left the United States in August. We did go back to lockdown when it all happened. We were in Mexico at the time. So, we did spend 4 months figuring out what was going on. And then as the world has started to slowly open back up, we've just been taking advantage of that and just trying to show people that you can still travel safely. Like we do quarantine when we need to. We've quarantined countless times. We've taken countless COVID tests,
I
and they're
saw that.
expensive. Yeah,
It looked painful.
yeah.
Woof.
It is not
Yeah.
Yeah,
comfortable,
it's
but
just
they're
it's the new normal
yeah.
for like we're not don't go out and go on vacation. Don't go just jet set for a weekend. Like that's not
But if
we.
you do get a COVID test and then quarantine and get another test on when you're done, so like we're just trying to show people that you can do it. You just have to do the right thing. And we're not trying to go into these countries and expose potentially like indigenous populations to something that they weren't otherwise exposed to. So, we're being really careful about it. We also don't really do much. So during the week we just stay in our Airbnb. Like there's not much going on until we go out on the weekends. And I'd say luckily in Central America and where we've been, a lot of restaurants are like open air and stuff like that. So it's been pretty easy to social distance. We obviously wear our masks everywhere. Like we went on a jungle night tour last night. It was freaking hot. We were sweating balls, but we had our masks on because that's just what you do these days. So,
Yeah.
um, you know,
Yeah, I can attest because when I went to Costa Rica the first time for 3 weeks, it was in the January/February time frame, and it was like 96, 98 degrees, and even the Fahrenheit, and even the locals were complaining like, "Oh my gosh, it's so hot,"
when it's hot when the locals are complaining.
Yeah, we were just all melting. But anyway, so tell everybody, please, what are the best ways for people to contact you for more information, collaboration, etc.?
So definitely, we have a contact form on our website. So you can go to veganvoyagers.com/contacts, and that'll put you directly in contact with our email. We'll be able to respond to that. You can reach out to us via socials. You can leave us comments on our posts, and
We're pretty accessible.
yeah.
We're not like too
Awesome.
big where we won't see your message. You can, if you comment on our YouTube videos, the comments help us tremendously. Comment, like, and subscribe. um, But yeah,
I
it was
did
great.
that. I did that.
I did see that.
We
I
saw
haven't
them.
responded yet, but yes, thank you.
No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Cool, cool. And so before we wrap up here, I just want to thank you all so much for taking the time. I want to thank everyone who's joining either live or on the replay. And I want to just ask you, Hayden and Aaron, if you have any final thoughts for us, just kind of wrap this all up for us and put a bow on it, please.
Have anything immediate?
I think just like we want to convince people to get out there, get out of your bubble, to travel. Don't be scared to travel, and that you're not missing out by traveling as a vegan. That there are opportunities to get those cultural experiences and try the local cuisine and all of that as a vegan. And it's never been easier just to go vegan in a general sense. So we just want to show people like we're just out here living our lives, doing everything that we want to do, and we're vegan, and it hasn't stopped us. It doesn't slow us down. In fact, it makes us thrive. So we just want to encourage other people to do the same, and just travel is such an amazing experience, and it will, it's life changing for people. And if we just don't want you to live in your bubble for your entire life and not understand like how the rest of the world operates, because you're missing out.
And
Yeah.
just don't be afraid to give vegan food a try. Just because you hear bad things about it or you think I could never be vegan.
We all said that.
We've all said that. We've all been there. Maybe find, like I said, find a little recipe where you can put in vegan meatballs or vegan cheese, or just give it a whirl. You may not like it, but you might. And once you find the ones that you do like, it's going to open the door to many more possibilities.
And we're always here
Wow.
if anybody has questions. Like, if you want to know what the best vegan cheese is for a pizza or for a cheese plate or the best milk or our favorite burger is, like, we are happy.
We've tried them all.
Yeah, we're happy to help.
Awesome. Well, I'm just so, grateful and happy that you shared your experience with us. You ended on a high note, super encouraging. So thank you so much to both of you again,
Thank
Hayden
you.
and Aaron. And I want to again say thanks to everybody who joined live or on the replay. I'm gonna save it now to IGTV and my stories, and make a post, and then I will message you after.
Okay, well,
Sounds great.
thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for having us. It was so nice to meet you, and thanks to everybody who joined us.
Awesome. Well, great to meet you all too. And
You
thank you
too.
both. And thanks everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
See ya.